These latest ones, I was using paper and focusing on paper dolls, and I ended up thinking about making traveler's notebooks as well after making this big one, and I'm gonna do a separate video for those just because they're kind of separate, but they were lots of fun to make and have paper dolls as well and all of that. So the same kind of theme, different paper though too, because I kind of got started on this theme and then went in slightly different direction with the Traveler's Notebooks. So this one, super big. I think it's 9 by 6, 5.5, and then kind of ends up being sort of a 9 by 6. And this is from an old quilt from a friend, which I love, nice and big. I think this is totally 3 inches. In the back, yeah, I love I love how the whole thing just is so solid. It's one of the fun parts. So I was at an antique shop and got the metal label holders and put some buttons in. And this is muslin, not tea stain this time, and marbled paper. And I used a lot of different papers and paper dolls that I got in little bits. There's pockets. And I printed out some images. And this is from the Sears and Roebuck catalog. And I think this is graphic 45 paper. And lots of other papers. I mostly won't take things out. And some paper dolls that go together. And here is, let's see, some hibiscus stain paper. This is a vintage bobby pin. Let's see, is that, yeah. And otherwise the paper is tea stained. Like I said, I did print out things and downloaded some printables. Otherwise everything is vintage ephemera. I also had I had a really wonderful drawing book of how to draw children's faces and children in general, and so that was super fun. So I used a lot of that paper. These are tea dyed papers. And then some fold-outs from a book of vintage paper dolls and clothing. So here's more paper doll stuff. And lots of tea-dyed papers. And then I had a really great book that had vintage clothing, costumes and things like that. So I used some of those pages. I used more of those also in the Traveler's Notebooks. And just a couple of extra ones in here. And here's another paper doll with a dress, which I thought was cute going with this drawing paper. Another dress. I'm going to try to zip through. Here's some cardstock. This beautiful graphic 45 paper, more printed images, another fold out. There's several in here. And lots of printed, again, the theme is similar throughout. You know, the pockets are peppered through and all of that. Is kind of a theme throughout. Here's another paper doll. This one is, some of them are ripped, they're very vintage, and I sewed on some lace and sari silk. Here's another pocket, but I thought the drawings were cute, so I didn't want to cover those. More paper dolls. This is a hard one, missing the face. And here is another one that kind of comes through. So I did get into the belly bands. I think my next book, I might focus on belly bands. We'll see. But I just kind of thought the idea was super fun. I did sew on some of these pages. I did sew pockets with some fibers, so I thought that was kind of fun. I created some pockets. Originally I was thinking I would put all the paper doll clothing in the pockets, but that didn't seem to work out the best, so I didn't do that, because putting some of these are very thin, and stuffing them in wasn't always the best idea, so I didn't want to do that. Some other fold out pockets. These are dictionary paper that I sewed. Another pocket. Here's an index card that's tea stained with a hat that you can put on one of the paper dolls, and again some sewn fibers. More hibiscus stained. This is a watercolor paper. More. And then the front of the book, of the drawing book, and cardstock drawing paper, notebook paper, pockets. So here's a guy, and this one is made in Japan. So someone picked this up on a visit to Japan with a male paper doll. More of the book that had costumes throughout history, and some watercolor paper that's hibiscus stained, this beautiful purple. This hibiscus, and this is tea, and that's from the cover. So except for the printouts, everything is authentic vintage. Book pages and all of that. So more cardstock, copy. This is a large printout. And I love the paper. So the variety of papers was really fun, and then some printouts. I just love that. We all, well, not all, some people burned the days of the telephone, that you had to sit near the phone. Just a little more sewing fiber. Another belly band. Again, I didn't want to stick the actual paper dolls in there. They seemed a little too delicate. Didn't want to ruin anything. This is the cover from one of the Draw and Paint books. And these, like I said, these were authentic vintage, like pins for your hair, in a nice little box that's really old. I don't have that right here, actually. I should have thought of that, but they're really great. And the hibiscus paper, I'm all out, so I'm going to try to make some more. I did buy some more hibiscus, so I'm going to try to do that. So this is another pocket with some sewing paper, pattern paper. Just a little one tucked in there. And how to draw shoes. I do love how some of this came out, just layering the different linen on top of this is a vintage, was a tablecloth, and then little bits. And that's card paper and watercolor paper. I love that one. That's probably my favorite. looks great. And I just love how thick it is. I'm just so into them. I think I like how the final books feel when they're done and solid. And it's just a big chunk. And I think that's what I like making. I mean, it's fun just to think about how the insides could be different, but in the end, I just like making this size book. And then I just love this paper so much I didn't really want to cover it, so as I was putting different things in there, I decided just to leave it because it was just really nice. And this one I think goes through a little bit, so it's not sticking up so much. Super fun one. Bottom, side.